Awesome. All right, so here we go. Oh, there we go. This is Matt Hurt at Obsessive Viewer on Twitter, and this is ObsessiveViewer.com's The Obsessive Viewer Podcast. Hello and welcome to The Obsessive Viewer. We're a movie and TV podcast that covers a specific topic, be it genre, trope, movie, or show each episode. You can find more of our work at ObsessiveViewer.com and more podcasts presented by Obsessive Viewer at ObsessiveViewer.com/podcasts. And if you'd like to support what we do here, you can become a patron at Patreon.com/ObsessiveViewer, where we have several different tiers. So $1 a month, you get about 150 plus exclusive B-roll episodes of us just kind of BSing and riffing and everything. And then at the $2 level, you get that plus TV and book reviews and reaction episodes. I'm currently doing episode reviews of Chapelwaite and Apple TV Plus's Foundation. And then I just finished doing Midnight Mass. And there's a bunch of stuff there. It's a lot of fun. And then also at the $5 level, you get that plus movie commentary tracks and immediate reviews. And then $10 gets you all that plus early access. Okay. Again, that's at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. I'm your host, the aforementioned Matt Hurt. And with me today, making her first appearance on The Obsessive Viewer, is the host of one of my personal favorite Stephen King podcasts. And that list includes Tower Junkies, the one that I host. It's The Year of Underrated Stephen King. You can find her on Twitter and Instagram at UnderatedSKPod. Please welcome to The Obsessive Viewer, the delightful Kim C. Hi, Kim.
Hi, Matt. Oh my gosh. Hi. I'm like all smiley. So kind. Thank you so much for that lovely intro.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah. And it's funny because when I said that, I just realized that this is the third time that I've said like, oh, hi, Kim. How's it going?
Love it. Yeah. Love it. Never sick of that.
Yep. So how are you doing in the last 20 minutes since the last time I asked you how you were doing?
I am doing amazing.
Nice.
I'm all warmed up. I feel like maybe my jokes might land a little better.
Nice.
It's October.
Yes.
It's spooky month. Yeah, everything's rad.
Nice. Well, welcome to the show. And yes, it is the spooky month. We at the Obsessive Viewer affectionately and not very cleverly refer to it as Shocktober. So we are in the midst of Shocktober, and as such, we're going to be reviewing Midnight Mass on Netflix from the just amazing Mike Flanagan.
Oh my God. Just
yes.
Amazing.
I really can't wait to dive into this with you. But first, I do want to give you I want to yield the floor to you to talk about The Year of Underrated Stephen King and, like you. So, how's it going? You host a podcast.
Oh, thank you, kind sir. Yes, I do. I'm the host, the solo hostess with the mostest of The Year of Underrated Stephen King, and we've been around for about a year now. We're almost to 80 episodes, which is quite cool. And by day, I am a university fiction teacher. I teach beginning, intermediate, and advanced fiction, and I've been in love with Stephen King since I finished graduate school. And I really wanted to start a show where I look at King from a more academic lens, just because I think there are so many amazing King podcasts out there, but I was just craving a little bit more school with my King reads. And so I just wanted to have a little bit of analysis in there. So I started making my way through the underrated works and came up with this show, and I've met so many amazing people like Matt, host of Tower Junkies and Obsessive Viewer, and lots of amazing, lovely people in this community. So when I'm not working on fiction and students and grading and emails, I'm
Mhm.
looking at King. I'm rereading King. I'm talking about him. I am examining short stories, and I'm just, oh my gosh, I'm obsessed. I can't stop.
That is so awesome. And I feel like that is why I feel like that's one of the reasons why as podcasters we're clicking so well, because that is, I mean, the passion that you have for not only for King's work, but for discussing King's work is like, it is just infectious. It is such a delight to listen to your show. And it's so much fun. And it kind of, honestly, it challenges me to be more analytical with King's work and everything and the stuff that I do. So I greatly appreciate, the influence that you have over your audience.
Oh, I'm so glad. That's so kind. Because, yeah, I often feel like I'm just pushing a boulder up a hill sometimes. Because, as you know, when you're a solo podcaster, it's a
Yes.
little like, putting in your heart and soul and speaking into the void.
Yep.
And, but so it's really nice to hear that because, you second guess yourself all the time and you're like,
Oh.
I don't know anything.
100%.
100%. So
Yeah.
that's so nice. It's very nice to hear that these thoughts of mine in my brain as I'm going to sleep about a certain novel, and then I, give it to the world. It's like, okay, thank goodness this is landing somewhere, and I'm not crazy.
Yep.
I mean, we all are. Nobody's normal.
Absolutely.
But I was actually thinking about this the other day where I was like, what is it about King? Like I always do that every now and again. And I was like, the reason why this is one of the many sort of anecdotes, but it's like, I just feel as if he is the best restaurant in town. And he serves the most delicious food, and everyone's like, "Yeah, but don't you want to try other things?" And it's like, no. And then they're like, "Well, why not?" And I was like, "Because it's different every time, and it's delicious every time, and it's unique every time, and there's magic, and it's made with love and with genius."
Yes.
And I just feel like he's my favorite restaurant, and I cannot go anywhere else, at least for the foreseeable future, at least while we are in this podcast journey, at least until I can read all of his works. That's my main goal for sure, is to read the underrated ones especially. But he's the best restaurant, Matt.
Nice. I wholeheartly agree. And yeah, like I think he does filet mignon just as great as he does a greasy burger.
Exactly.
He's very versatile.
Super.
And also, congratulations on the podcast also. And I think I've said this before and everything to you, but just it's great. I mean, I know I said that like 5 minutes ago, but but it's a great show and everything. And also just me being a podcaster for so long, like I know the struggle of everything, but something that I've found, or like this interesting, I don't have like a citation for this, but something interesting, like a piece of data that I found out that was kind of interesting, is that the majority of podcasts, like, because I mean, obviously we're at a time where like everyone is starting podcasts and everything, and they have been for years, but on average, again, citation needed, but on average, the average podcast lasts 7 episodes and then fades away and is done. So the fact that you're up to 80 is just fantastic. And I'm super thrilled for you.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. That's an amazing stat. I hadn't heard that. Wow.
Yeah. I've heard that on a couple of like YouTube videos. So we know how, like, we obviously know how accurate those are, but but yeah.
Yeah, I every time I get in a low place, which you know those low places sometimes. I'm always like, I just gotta quit. I can't do it. And then I think to myself of why I started in the first place. And that was before my first episode, I kind of had a moment with myself, and it says, I would make this show if nobody listened to it, because that's how much King's work means to me. I would do this without a single listener. The listeners help. They are tremendous. And people like yourself are just logs on my little campfire. It's amazing. But yeah, I would do it even if no one listened because it's so special.
Nice.
And yeah, so this is like the little diamond in my pocket that I'll save for a rainy day.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah. So thank you so much for being a listener and
absolutely.
a King fan.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And on that note about podcast episodes and everything, I do want to just mention that I was a guest on episode 69 of your podcast, and you were a guest on episode 69 of Tower Junkies. And so my inviting you on to Obsessive Viewer, this is episode 354. So I'm going to put you on the spot, but I am going to say that if I'm not the guest on episode 354 of the Year of Underrated Stephen King, we riot.
Will do, good sir.
Yes.
Will do. I'll make sure we'll get there. I hope we have a planet, Matt.
I know.
Never know.
Oh, believe me.
We might be
Same
recording
here.
from a space station outpost somewhere.
I would actually really be game for that.
Right? I'm ready.
Yeah.
To leave this little blue marble blesser.
Yep. So just to recap before we get into the actual the meat of the episode, just to recap, you can find Kim's podcast at Underrated SK Pod on Twitter and Instagram. And I highly recommend it. Not just the episode I was on, but every other episode. And right now you're working your way through the Green Mile. How is that going? I say that with the caveat that I have not started listening to them yet because I haven't started listening to the book yet, but I plan to do that very soon. How's that going for you?
Oh, let me just expel this huge sigh because that's how it's going. Oh my God, Matt, this book, I had heard from people that it's a powerhouse, that it's like an absolute like monolith in terms of King majesty, and they are correct. This thing, it's a difficult book. The subject matter is bleak and grim and sad, but yet there is so much richness and so much beauty that it's been the best experiment ever to digest it in the 6 parts, to kind of allow my heart to gel with what he did and what he composed and how he arranged it. I am loving it. But it's also taxing on the emotions. There's a lot.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, it's taxing on the emotions, but I'm doing it week by week. And so it allows me to kind of unpack, leave my thoughts there, and then spend some time with the text, get ready for the next week. It's been the coolest thing. And I'm just in awe that this was a novel composed in 6 parts. So it's just the coolest thing. I can't emphasize that enough. It is going very well. It is going very, very well. Thank you for asking.
Very nice. And yeah, I am planning very soon. I'd mentioned to you that on Twitter, because you mentioned revisiting Storm of the Century. And
oh my God, yes.
Yeah, I haven't started yet. My plan is to watch that soon, but I have like a little bit of a stacked. I mean, like
you're a busy man.
I am. Like right now, there is Heartland Film Festival here in Indianapolis going on, and like I have tickets to a screening tomorrow night, Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night. And then Monday I have a press screening for a movie as well. So like this is like the one night that I have where I'm at home and everything.
Oh my gosh, bless your soul, sir. Your dance card is full. Dance card is full.
Yeah, but during the day on the weekend, I should be able to squeeze in Storm of the Century. And I'm very excited for that. And
we'll need to exchange thoughts because it is my favorite Stephen King series. Like it hasn't been matched. It has not been matched. It's so good.
That's so awesome. And it's funny because I said this on Twitter, but it's funny, shameless plug for Tower Junkies. We just today I just posted the Mine and Tiny's top 19 favorite Stephen King adaptations episode, and so we have that up, and out there. So I'm looking forward to having to tweak my list, assuming that I like Storm of the Century, which I have no doubts that I will.
Yeah. I'm so excited for you to watch it and tell me about it because I love it. Yeah. It's a love with a very big L, all caps. Nice. Love it.
I'm particularly excited because Tim Daly's in it, and
yes.
Yeah, I am just such a huge fan of Wings from the 90s.
Oh yeah. That was a fun show.
Oh yeah. Like I have very fond memories of me and my family like just watching that and watching reruns on like USA during the day when I would stay home sick from school. And it's just it is like my comfort sitcom. And I love that both Tim Daly and Steven Weber have connections to Stephen King. So
amazing.
Yeah.
I'm really, really excited for you to watch it. I'm so excited. It's slightly obnoxious. I feel like if we were live and in person, I'd be jumping up and down and saying like, "Did you watch it yet, Matt? Did you watch it? What part are you at? What night are you at? Where are you at?" That's my level of enthusiasm for anybody who approaches Storm of the Century.
Nice. Well, I will definitely report back. And it's funny because the thing that you said on Twitter was that it is I can't remember the exact phrasing, but it seems you said that it's like a good palate cleanser or a good not continuation, but a palate cleanser after Midnight Mass. And
yes.
So like I'm like, oh, that makes perfect sense just because of what I know about Storm of the Century. Yeah.
You're gonna feel it. Nice. You're gonna really sense that Flanagan might have been a fan of Storm of the Century too, because it's very evident when you watch them back to back. And I've talked with a couple King fans who have also mentioned this. I mean, granted, Midnight Mass in all of its glory has a ton of nods to King, thank God. But a couple people specifically cited Storm of the Century, which filled my heart with joy. So
nice. That's awesome. Well, and Pizza has made her entrance onto the desk. So if you hear noises,
baby angel.
Yeah, she's precious. Yeah.
That's a diva queen right there. She's like, I don't care if my father's busy.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Pay attention to me.
Exactly. And then when I try to shoo her off, she gets very, very angry and pouty. Yeah. And she just there we go. Okay. And it's funny because I specifically laid out like her favorite blanket on like the little stand that I have next to me so that she can lay down on it, but she does not do that because she is a rebel. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So let's segue into the main topic for this episode, which is Mike Flanagan's Midnight Mass.
Ooh, clapping.
Yes.
I'm clapping.
Oh, yes. So the way we structure the reviews here on Obsessive Viewer, of course, is we do a non-spoiler and spoiler review. Now, so obviously it is very hard to avoid spoilers for this. So we're going to do our best to talk in kind of broad terms, and then we'll get into a spoiler discussion that I'll prompt the listeners for. I'll play a little bit of the trailer and everything, and we'll just have a good time with the conversation. So for those who don't know, Midnight Mass premiered on Netflix on September 24th. Of course, it's part of the Netflix model, so it's all episodes all at once. There are 7 episodes. And the plot summary is: an isolated island community experiences miraculous events and frightening omens after the arrival of a charismatic, mysterious young priest. This show stars Kate Siegel, Zach Gilford, Kristen Lehman, Samantha Sloyan as Bev Keane, her performance was incredible.
Amazing.
Yes. Igby Rigney, Raul Colai, and a bunch of other people. I'm trying to find the one. Obviously, Hamish Linklater. Yeah.
That star, that fox.
So good.
That bright burning blaze of a performance.
Oh, yeah. So, okay. So yeah, Midnight Mass is Mike Flanagan's passion project. And he has alluded to it in some of his previous works, like in Gerald's Game. There's a book called Midnight Mass on the like headboard, I think, and in Hush, the character is writing the book Midnight Mass. So it's just really, really cool, like that he got to do his thing. And for listeners who aren't a part of Patreon, I went just full bore into episode by episode reviews, where I got less and less coherent as I went through. So if you feel like donating on Patreon, it's at the $2 level. So Kim, let's dive in to Midnight Mass. In broad terms, like what were your expectations for it? And like, was it something that was like so on your radar before it came out? Or was it something that's like you waited for the feedback to jump into it?
Oh, I love this question. So I was not really, so I would consider myself a member of the Flana fam. I am a Flanagan fanatic. However, I think I just got, after Bly Manor, I had heard, I was like dancing in the streets when I heard he was going to do revival. Like absolutely going up to strangers on the street almost with how joyful I was. Yep. So when that fell through, I kind of was devastated and lost my way with paying attention to his schedule. So
that's totally understandable, though.
Yeah,
that pain.
So, oh my God, it hurt. It cut real deep. Not gonna lie. So then it kind of snuck up on me, and then it was just out, and I was like, oh my God, it's Flanagan's thing. And I remember seeing the trailer, and I was like, I was just curious. I was like, and the thing is I think I was a little trepidatious because it's very Catholic, and this is not speaking ill by any means, but it's like religion is heavy, and especially Catholicism is very heavy. Right. And so I was like, am I in the mood for like a really Catholic thing? Yeah. So, and it just based on, I think everybody's like emotionally exhausted on the planet Earth, and there's just a lot when it comes to like all of politics and religion and just all the things we've been going through in this past year as a collective human body. So I was trepidatious. I was very nervous. But then I was like, I don't care. It's Mike Flanagan, and I'm going to watch the first episode. We're just going to test the water. We're just going to put my oar in the water and just see how we do. And then I will judge if I need to shelve this for a little bit or if I could keep going. So my expectations were, I knew that Flanagan is a genius with drama and tight script writing. Oh, yeah. And so I was very excited for what his script was going to deliver and curious about what the dramatic arc was going to be. So my expectations was more drama centered. And I knew based on how Hill House had wrecked me, like scared me to death for a good 2 weeks after I finished it. And then Bly Manor had me like sobbing. I knew I was going to have an emotional response. I just didn't know what form it was going to take. Right. So that's kind of how I entered Midnight Mass.
Nice. That's awesome. And I still have not gone through Hill House or Bly Manor. I know. I will turn in my membership card to the Flana fam.
You can still catch up. But I'm very, very excited for you to watch Hill House now because that shiz be on another level. It's off the chain is what it is. It's so on another level. It's off the chain.
Nice. Yes, I'm very much looking forward to it. And my goal is to watch both of those by the end of the month. That is my goal. So hopefully I can, but I'm that is my goal because it's watching awesome. Midnight Mass. Yeah, watching Midnight Mass, I was like, okay, Mike Flanagan is one of my favorite filmmakers right now, and
absolutely,
I need to devour everything he's ever done. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. And I love it when the trust in a filmmaker is that strong because
Oh yeah.
Kim saying I hate slashers, Matt. Like
Oh, interesting.
slashers really violate my mental health boundaries. I cannot accept
Ah.
them. I just
Mm-hmm.
that's what really scares me is like being hunted, like that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
I can't handle it.
Mm-hmm.
Slashers I hate. And yet Flanagan did one called Hush and I
Oh
watched
my
it.
God, Hush is so
And
good.
it was very good. Did I
Yeah.
hate the majority of it? Yes, because I hate feeling like that in I
Mm-hmm.
hate the feeling that slashers give me. I don't like
Yeah.
it. However, the premise was so genius. Like
Oh yeah.
she's hearing impaired. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God. It's amazing. And I really appreciated it. I did enjoy it. Even though I wanted to throw up after I watched it because
Right.
it's like my worst nightmare. Slashers
Yeah.
get to me. I can't handle them very well.
Nice. Yeah, I have such an affinity for slashers. Like I recently within the last couple of days, the trailer for the new Scream movie came out and like Scream, I say this with no embellishment, no like I'm not exaggerating in any capacity, but if it wasn't for the first Scream movie in 1996, like you and I would not be talking right now. Like my entire life would have been on a completely different trajectory. I would not would not have fallen so far in love with movies and media and everything. And
Wow.
probably most definitely probably would not have started podcasting and everything. So
Amazing.
yeah, yep. So and in other words, I may have had a more, socially functional life. But but I didn't. So and now I get the pleasure of chatting with you on a podcast. So
Fantastic.
yeah.
It all works out as it should.
Oh yeah. But I'm excited for Scream anyway.
I
Yeah.
saw that movie when I was way too young.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's another reason I have like psychological scars with slashers. Because I was at a slumber party with a bunch of girls and way too young to be watching that. And yet there was no parental supervision or involvement. And yeah, keep on the trauma. So,
Yep.
but yeah, I'm sure I could appreciate Scream. I did watch the first, for someone who hates slashers, I've seen a lot of them, Matt.
Sure.
I think that's why I know I hate them because I've been subjected to them over the years from various friends. I will say, though, the first Halloween is compelling and great.
Yes.
I'm impressed. Loved it.
Oh, yeah. I just plugged for the Patreon, but I just did commentary tracks at the $5 level for Halloween, Halloween 2, Halloween H2O, and Halloween 2018, and then I'm probably going to do one for Halloween Kills. So I have commentaries up there, but like when watching the first Halloween, which is it is an icon. I absolutely adore that movie. And like as I'm watching it while like forcing myself to talk about it the entire time, I'm like recognizing like this is just the perfect example of tension in a film. And it is just, and like I saw like all of these subtleties, like I never really considered the way that the kids are always in the movie, and like how I never really considered, maybe it's because I'm now watching it when I'm like in my mid 30s, but like I like seeing like the kids being like near Michael Myers or in like seeing Michael Myers and stuff like that puts like such a deep fear in me, like, oh, these kids are in danger throughout this entire movie, and it's something that's like so subtle and not like gratuitous or anything. It's just something that's underlying the surface, and it's so perfect. Yeah.
I definitely need to give it a rewatch. I don't want to,
right.
But I remember being impressed when I watched it. Like as I was, peering through the sweatshirt that I wrap around my face, because that's how I have to watch slashers, is like I have to have a protective poof around my face because you have to keep out the sound, you have to have minimal vision. This is how you survive them. But I remember being very like, okay, Halloween, I see you. Look at this filming. Look at this very simple yet profound camera angle
Yep.
and this sparse and minimal thing going on. Yeah, I was impressed.
Oh yeah. So, to get back to Midnight Mass.
I love the meandering trail. It's the best.
Like I should say, once again, welcome to the obsessive viewer. This is what we do.
I love it. This is great. I'm having a blast.
Yeah, awesome. Well, that's good to know. Yeah, whenever there's there's been like memes on Twitter where it's like, oh, what name would you give or what word would you use to describe a group of something that you do or whatever? So like it would be like procrastination of writers or something. And then like for me, I would just be like a tangent of podcasters.
Perfect.
Yes. So going back to Mike Flanagan and the Flanafam, which I love that. I love that so much.
Totally.
Yeah. So we kind of talked about this a little bit. So you watched Bly Manor, you watched Hill House, Hush. Have you seen any of his other works like Oculus or Ouija Origin of Evil, which I haven't seen?
Haven't seen those.
Okay.
Oculus is one that's still on my list.
Nice.
I've seen Dr. Sleep,
Oh,
which
yes,
I love. Love Dr. Sleep. And then I have seen parts of Gerald's Game, but Gerald's Game, I haven't read the novel yet. And I would like to because I don't think I can appreciate and or handle the difficult subject matter without like the text to support it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gerald's Game's really heavy. It's really heavy and dark.
Oh,
and
100%.
I just don't have the stones right now, man. Like I don't have the emotional stones that it needs to just be resilient with Jesse's journey. I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna be wrecked and be sobbing and be really, really wrung out from this subject matter. Ergo, I've seen parts of Gerald's Game, but I would like to wait until I could fully take it all in. But I'm incredibly impressed. I mean, how they filmed this, like how they did it and the choices he made to make it work. I'm astonished.
Yes. Oh yeah, absolutely. And I kind of by default, I'm always the type of person who's like, yeah, read the book first. Read the book first for anything because like it is 99.99 repeating % of the time the book is going to be better than the movie or show. Like that's just a given. But with Gerald's Game, I think that I would very much recommend that everyone read the book first, even if you're not like a book reader or anything, but read the book first and then watch the movie because that is such an unfilmable story. And the fact that Flanagan did it is just, I mean, he is just on another level. He's just so impressive.
Very much.
Yeah. Yep. So we talked about, I'm just kind of looking at my list of questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, so eventually I'll make my way through all of his works.
Nice.
But I've got some lingering little strays that I'll get around to.
Nice. So should we expect a year of underrated Mike Flanagan podcast?
Oh, maybe, because I could talk a lot about this dude. Like nice. I really am very, very zealous. I am like this guy. This guy is all the right moves, man. So maybe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I am so on board if you do.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
That might have to be our Moonlight project.
Nice.
We'll Moonlight. Flanagan, Flanafam pod.
Yes. Oh, I love it. I'm going to register the URL now.
Do it. Do it.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty of Midnight Mass, because there is, you touched on it a little bit, the Catholicism aspect of it, the heaviness of religion and everything, and from my perspective, I am a product of Eastmissers, so my parents were Catholic, I
Oh my God, I just put
guess.
that together. I was like,
Yeah.
Eastmas.
Yeah,
Wait a minute,
Eastmas ours.
I'm thinking of all the like Eastern religions and I was
Mhm.
like, is that Shinto,
Oh,
Tao? I'm
no.
like going down the list and I was like, oh my God, Easter Christmas?
Yep.
That's hilarious. Oh my God, Matt,
Yeah,
that killed
yeah.
me. That's amazing. I thought it was a legit
Oh, no,
cultural,
no.
like geographically rooted faith. LOL. Well, it is here in America, I think, so it
Yeah.
does
Oh,
exist.
yeah.
Cool. Eastmas is
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. But basically they were Catholic and basically would only go to church or do anything church related, like go like to Easter Mass or Christmas Mass. And that was also kind of sort of rare as we all got older and everything. But myself, I'm just I would say, I don't know, a practicing agnostic. So
Perfect. Yeah,
yeah,
that's a lovely definition.
yeah,
Practicing agnostic, or you're just not practicing.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. I'm just, it's not, so I have like an interest, maybe not interesting, but I just have like this kind of relationship with organized religion where I don't like it. And I have like my own, like I don't judge anyone for their religious faith or anything, obviously. Like, and like, if do whatever you want as long as it's not hurting anyone, hey, go nuts. But for me personally, I just don't find I don't find the same kind of I don't find the same kind of I don't know, purpose with religion, like personal like guidance with religion. But I 100% respect, and in some cases probably envy a little bit, people who are devout religious people and everything. But having said that, something that surprised me so much about Midnight Mass was the way that it depicted not only religion in general, but the faith among the characters. And
Yes.
yeah, and like, it's something that, like, anytime I see religion depicted in media, it's usually like, okay, this is the story about like someone who is completely like just incredibly like one-dimensional with their
Yeah.
religious faith and everything. But this was like one of the first things where I saw like the nuance of religious faith and it guiding people in their lives and having such a profound effect on their lives. And it's on such a spectrum throughout all the characters. I just found that to be just so great. And I know that from listening to your podcast, I know that you studied religious studies in school.
Yes.
Yeah. So
That is correct.
yeah, so I was very curious, like, how did you feel about the depiction of religion in the show, and like how did you kind of how did you experience it? Yeah.
Yes. This is a great question. So yeah, I got my minor in religious studies and I kind of kick
Nice.
myself now because I really wish I would have double majored
Oh,
because
interesting.
it is the most fascinating field. If you are someone who
Mm-hmm.
likes learning and who wants to learn things that will 1000% immediately impact your life in a way where you feel more informed about the society you live in, it's an amazing field to study if anybody's thinking about going back to school. Highly recommend.
Nice.
But it really helped when I was approaching this show because having a foundation in the core principles and doctrines of each of these faiths, you kind of understand why it's going down. And so I agree with you when you mentioned how in film and television we see a lot of the fundamentalist only side,
Mm-hmm.
and especially in horror movies, they're like very, very freakishly devout and frightening, and they don't listen to reason, and they're just
Yeah.
completely choking on their own doctrine. And
Yeah.
so I was really glad that really intelligent writers like Flanagan and people that they understand that they are going to be lifting up the rug on something and like really
Mm-hmm.
exposing the dirty laundry, Because all faiths, some more than others, we got some trauma with a big T,
Oh
and
yeah.
that's because some of these institutions, all of them have their problems. This is not singling anyone out, but
Right.
some of them love power a
Yes.
little more than the average bear,
Oh yeah.
and so yeah.
Yeah.
Because of that, going into this, I was prepared to see some not so good things,
Hmm.
but I was very glad that Flanagan also exposes the people on the sidelines that are the majority of people, actually, like the kind of
Hmm.
nut jobs you see on TV. They really are not that common.
Yeah.
You have the people who are really just average people who are trying to be good to their neighbor and
Hmm.
who realize that everybody is flawed and trying their best. And but the thing about faith, and what I like what Flanagan does, is he understands that faith is the deepest part of someone's heart. It's what they will die for. People will die for their faith in a microsecond. And so you have to be very cautious with that sometimes. And that could either sway to one way in a horrifying way or to the
Hmm.
other way where there's a complete loss of faith, like the character of Riley Flynn.
Yeah.
But, this was a very long-winded thing, but my background really allowed me to love and respect this show and be freaked out by it on so many levels.
Nice. Yeah, I that is so well said. And yeah, like just to reiterate, like I don't have any ill will toward religion or anything, but I do recognize, like, yeah, that some people, and this really isn't just this isn't just religion or anything. This is really any kind of organization of any kind where people are
Oh,
involved.
yeah,
It's just
absolutely.
the like the pull of power and the kind of wow, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, not appetizing, but the allure of like
Yeah.
corruption and
Oh,
self
yeah,
gain and personal gain
absolutely.
is like evident. It's like part of being a human being in like in society, basically.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
power and control. It's
Yeah.
power and
Oh yeah.
control, and
Oh yeah.
some of these heavyweights with a lot of donor funding have
Yep.
have it in spades.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if you understand, especially with this fantastic series, if
Hmm.
you are a practicing Catholic or there's something about the ritual inside the Catholic orthodoxy where
Hmm.
these prayers are said 10,000 times in a lifetime, more,
Yeah.
100,000 times. These prayers, like people have memorized them in beyond their consciousness, like
Hmm.
these rituals, these steps, the bowing, um the hand gesture, like this is just, it's incredible when you kind of know a little bit about it and then you
Hmm.
see it observed. And I think that's why it's such a terrifying thing, because it's so close to home. It's so intimate, and he
Absolutely.
exposes it. it's
Hmm.
it's awesome. It's so messed up and awesome.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I have not stepped foot in like a like I think in like 2012 a friend of mine got married in like a Catholic church, and like that was the last time I was like in a church, like during like a kind of Catholic ceremony of any kind. And so like like I said, I had some experience with that like in my childhood and everything. And I also one of my friends was his father was like a minister or preacher. I don't know, at a I think a Baptist church. I'm not sure, but so I would like go to church with him when I was a kid, and like so I have been like not involved with anything church related or anything of that kind of not really methodology, but that kind of ceremony and everything. And there is something just so gripping about the way that Midnight Mass just captures that on film. And
Oh,
yeah, like there are moments where Hamish Linklater, who is just mind-blowingly good in this.
10 out of 10.
Yeah.
1,000 out of 10.
Oh,
just
yeah.
amazing.
It's like I'm watching him do like a sermon or deliver communion and everything, and I'm just like I'm just as enthralled in the stuff that he's saying as the people in the show are. And I'm like, this is so powerful. This level of storytelling is just completely out of this world for me. And it is just such a high mark for the production of the show that it's just so I was just so immersed and wrapped up in it without having any context for it, which I think is really the high mark of really any art that's made.
Totally. Yeah. I'm so glad you mentioned that. Like, yeah, even the lay people, as church folk call them, the laymen, the lay folk. It's he's riveting, and it's powerful. And typically they're not that jazzy. He actually did a really good job. They're a lot more somber in their delivery.
Yep. And another thing. So we will talk, I think, more in depth about the connections to kind of Stephen King, obviously, because like what's so brilliant about the trailer for this show is it does not give away anything. And I definitely don't want to give away anything until we get into spoilers.
Correct.
Yes. So on that note, to dance around some things, I did notice, obviously, there is just a heavy Stephen King influence on this story. And one of the best things about Stephen King for me is his depiction of his writing of small town life and community, and how that can just be just completely infiltrated or influenced by like kind of the outsider of a community and everything. So my kind of question for you is, how did you feel about the kind of depiction of small town life and community of Crockett Island, which is just a very, like, the opening scene after the cold open is Crockett Island, population 127. And from there, we're introduced to a small community. So how did you feel about the depiction of small town life in Midnight Mass?
So this is such a cool question. So what's interesting about Crockett Island is this is, I think, way different than a normal small town in King's world, because, Matt, think back, if you will, for a second. Did you ever see anyone driving a car?
Oh.
Right? Huh. Because I don't. I don't think I did. Ergo, for me, this place, Crockett Island, almost seems like a commune, not even a small town or a community, because this place is like so small that you can't even drive a car. Like, there's no need. Nobody drove a car. There was some boats, but
yeah.
So it's like I really get the sense that, like, this is a unique small town where they are really up in each other's business. Like, you can't even like kick a rock without 5 people knowing about it, because you guys are on top of each other. Given the fact that everyone is walking, there's, you can't go anywhere. You can't get off island. And if you do, you're going to be taking the same boats that everybody else, like, you can't even sneeze without someone else knowing about it. And so that felt even more freakish, in terms of, like, this is beyond small town. This is like a commune where it's a bunch of hippie folks or like-minded souls who just want to be a part of this strange little island body, because this is unique AF. And so I think the fact that we don't really have normal community life demonstrated really kind of said, okay, this is even deeper than any kind of small town. But I thought it was brilliant. I loved the close creepy. Everybody's just walking.
Yeah.
Nobody's driving. Yeah.
My jaw is like on the floor right now.
Right? It's so huge.
Yeah. And and I don't know if this is anything, but it's interesting because like the only car that I can think of is in that opening scene.
Right?
Where,
oh my God.
Yeah. Which, let's talk about that. We can spoil that, I think.
Oh my God.
The introduction to the whole show. Like, I started it because I started watching it usually I'm just completely anal retentive, and I'll be like, okay, well, I need to watch Hill House, I need to watch Bly Manor, and then I can watch Midnight Mass. And then like I saw on Twitter, like people were talking about Midnight Mass, and I was just like, okay, I need to mute the words Midnight Mass because I don't want to be spoiled. And then I think you emailed me and mentioned Midnight Mass, and I was like, okay, yeah, I've got to watch Midnight Mass. I have to. So
I know. I was like, so hi, buddy. Stop everything right now.
Yep. So I started it, and then, I mean, talk about a hook for a show. Like,
right? Oh my God.
Opening scene, it is just brilliantly filmed. It is brilliantly constructed. It's the aftermath of a drunk driving accident, and it's the introduction to Riley, who is the driver, the drunk driver of it, and then that is our introduction to that character. And then there's a time jump, and then we get Crockett Island, and it's like, oh, I'm so in.
Agree.
Yeah.
Agree.
And it's so interesting that depiction of like that. Not to say that there's really anything to like. I don't think that I don't know that the intention was to show like Crockett Island as kind of like a little bit backwards in terms of development or modernization. But I think that there might be something to the, like, both the characters of Riley and Aaron, who Riley, left the island and was involved in a horrible incident that he brings back to the island in, like, he's haunted by. And then Aaron, there's that conversation where she's talking about how she left, she ran away from the island, went to like the big city and everything, and then eventually came back. I don't remember the specifics that she said or anything, but I think that there's something to that, like your word usage of it being like a commune. It's something that, people don't really escape from or anything, and it's so tied together to, St. Patrick's and the kind of the world of Crockett Island. It's just that, I don't know, that just blew my mind that there's no cars.
Totally, dude. Yeah. I mean, once you let that sink in, it's a game changer because it just changes a lot of things. Everything is in little boats or on foot.
Yep.
And so the proximity and the closeness and that identity of like, this is the life I know, and I'm going to run back from the mainland and from its terrors back to this safe, in quotes, place, and just live in quiet, predictable peace.
Yep. Just I'm gonna have to rewatch it now.
Yeah. Do it. I've rewatched a few isolated episodes just to like feel it and observe and maybe answer some questions. So I highly recommend.
Nice. So we should dance around the spoilers here, but how did you feel about the horror element of the show? Without going into what exactly it is, what exactly happens and everything, how did you feel about that kind of central mystery and that kind of, for me, it felt like just a sense of unease, but also we're in the hands of a brilliant filmmaker who is going to guide us to a satisfying conclusion, which he does just kind of completely naturally. But in terms of the actual horror element, the ick factor of it and the grisliness of some of the sequences, how did you feel about the horror of Crockett Island in Midnight Mass?
I was a very satisfied customer because
Nice.
I one thing that I also love about being a Flan-a-Fam member, I hope I could say I'm a member even though I haven't seen everything,
Oh
but
yeah.
I love that in the majority, and this isn't too much of a spoiler, but in the
Mhm.
majority of Flanagan works, it's the slow burn factor, which is
Yes.
what we get a lot in Gothic literature, which I
Mhm.
adore. I adore that. And it allows you to really sort of set your feet down firmly in the setting and then let the secrets of everything surround you. And then at the end, you find everything out and you just get annihilated by the
Yep.
reveal. And that's what Gothic novels do. And he's so great at channeling what like old school horror has always been, which is um, not being able to trust the four walls around you, and then everybody has so many freaking secrets. Like no, everyone is just these giant liars.
Oh yeah.
It's great, and but the horror aspect of it, because I am a sensitive Sally,
Mhm.
I would actually, and this is why it's so fascinating. I have a King podcast because I would not consider myself a horror fan, Matt. I'm a
Nice.
fraidy cat. I am really freaked out by many things and massive anxiety,
Mhm.
but I appreciate good art and good storytelling, and
Mhm.
I think that the way he handled this was so genius. Kept you
Yep.
guessing, kept you hooked in, and then when it was exposed, you were definitely it was flickers and moments, and it didn't dwell on it. It wasn't like a gory torture porn thing. It
Right.
was like, all right, you saw it. Did you? Are you sure? Is that what you saw? Is that what you really
Yep.
saw? Because it was quick. And I was in it to win it. And I was like, this is very cool and very unsettling. But he doesn't linger. There's a lot of questions, and it's a winning combination.
Uh, Absolutely agree. And like on the Patreon stuff that I did, like it was like every episode was like, wait, is it this kind of story? Or is it this kind
Right?
of story? Or wait, no, it's this kind of story. Okay.
Totally. Totally. Yeah, you're just like,
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on because
Yeah.
he kind of distracts you with like
Mhm.
these great monologues and these character relationships, and so
Yeah.
you kind of forget that you're unraveling a mystery or that you
Mhm.
are gonna have to prepare to be scared soon down the line.
Yep.
Or it's just amazing. He juggles so many plates. He's like a magician. He's just tricking your eyes the
Oh,
whole time,
absolutely. Oh yeah.
and you're not paying attention to the thing that he's been toying with the whole time, and it's
Yep.
great.
Oh yeah. I have said ever since seeing Doctor Sleep, I have called Doctor Sleep a magic trick. Like that
Oh
it's
yeah,
nothing short of a magic trick what he did with that movie.
amazing. Yeah, a
Oh yeah.
million percent. I agree.
Yeah. So I had something, but I think I just forgot it, but that's fine. So
I do that all the time.
yeah. Again, welcome to the obsessive viewer. But yeah, so that whole element that just that's where I was. Okay. So the monologues there, it's like every episode has like one or multiple just incredible monologues. And what I found interesting is like when I watch something or read something, I try not to read any like reviews or anything. I kind of want to keep kind of a clean kind of viewpoint, and then document my feelings on it in like either podcast or written form. And then I just dive into like the reviews and stuff. But apparently there has been kind of a lot of criticism about the like long monologues in the show, and I for one loved pretty much every single one of them. Did you find them detracting or distracting, or how did you feel about the kind of monologue heavy script in this show?
So I love his writing, so I always want more of it. And the
Oh yeah.
monologues I think are kind of cool because we are our generation especially, but like we're kind of really trained by this society to be instant gratification seeking always. Like, it's never fast enough. Like, high-speed internet, like, we have all the things. It's never fast enough. Faster, faster.
Right.
And so I love that Flanagan forces you to ruminate, to stay put and listen to these characters, to be in the moment, to stay present with what they're saying, because you're thinking a clue might be revealed or something.
Right.
But I love that that's how he kind of forces you to stay in this place with this, be in the moment with the characters, with this exchange. However, this is also a double-edged sword, because as the action starts to ramp up and the secrets start to slip out, the curiosity of the viewer is like overwhelming. We're like, oh my God, hurry up, because our hearts are literally racing. Like, we are hungry for knowledge. We're hungry to know. We want to know. We got to find out. We got to like unlock it all. And so I think it's a different thing once the pacing starts to get going. So I can understand the criticism for that, but I love them. He is such a talented writer. He's a beautiful writer. And I love what he has done with taking biblical allegory, with with literal scripture, what he's done with parables, and like interwoven them with these very traumatized people and their pain. And oh my God, there's so much to sing about the beautiful writing. So in a roundabout way, I'm okay with them.
Nice. Yeah, when I heard that, because I had a friend mention it on Facebook, because I posted about Midnight Mass, and he was like, oh, I liked it and everything, but something about the monologues. And I was just like, the only one that I could see taking issue with is there's one late in the series by the sheriff, who he is telling this just extended monologue about how he came to Crockett Island. And like, I adore that actor in that role. I think he did such a fantastic job. And I think that particular voice in the show is important, because he's a Muslim character, so he is of a completely different faith, and he is subject to discrimination from some of the other devout members of the church and everything. And so he gives this just impassioned monologue, and then I can understand that. As much as I loved that, I'm also like, okay, well, things are happening. Things are going on, and I can understand that. But that's like my one criticism of any of the monologues. And I have very short hair, but if I had long hair, it would have been blown back during that, because it was so good.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to get into spoilers.
Do it.
Yes. But first, before we get into spoilers, I do want to ask you I'm going to spring this question on you, even though I prepped you for it beforehand. With Mike Flanagan not doing Revival, as painful as that is to say, I'm still, it hurts. It hurts. It really does.
Damn it.
Yep. But what Stephen King property would you want to see Mike Flanagan tackle next?
Dear Matt. Okay.
Yes.
That is gonna be, hands down, bar none, Doomakey.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. We need him to do Doomakey. We need a gothic beach novel.
Yep.
We need to see Big Pink or Salmon Point. We need the flashback to the 1900s with the family of Elizabeth Eastlake. We need it all. We need all the art, the drawings, the paintings. I need Doomakey by Mike Flanagan. Go.
Oh man, I love that, and I'm just thinking, like, I'm thinking of the casting. Like, obviously, Henry Thomas will be in it if he does it. So,
oh my gosh, yes,
I'm thinking
he could be Edgar.
Edgar Fremantle, yeah.
He could be Edgar. He could be Wireman.
Wow. Yep.
I We need Doomakey, Matt. We need Doomakey. Yep. Yes.
And I've told you this before, but I credit your episode on Doomakey with actually like helping me to kind of like find a road into it, because like that book never really clicked with me, but like your passion for it and your kind of your analytical approach to it was like, oh my God, okay, this just opened up everything for me. So I would love to see that adapted by Flanagan. Hell yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. That is the best compliment of my life. You don't even know, because I adore Doomakey, and I want to get it mainstream. And so it is a passion project of mine. So if my enthusiasm can reach the masses, that is my goal. So thank you so much. And I'm so glad that you do you might do a reread because of thoughts that I've extended, because it's magic. It's the best freaking book. It's so underrated. It is pure magic. And if we had that visualized by Flanagan's Fire, it would work. It would happen.
Oh God, absolutely. That would be so good. And like Mike Flanagan is someone who, I mean, he has the keys to the kingdom. No pun intended, or pun intended probably. But like he has free reign to do whatever he wants in the King universe. So that's that would be amazing. That would be very amazing.
I think I'm just gonna like make a tweet like tomorrow and say, "Dear @Flanagan Film, Doomakey, has Doomakey, please?" Question mark.
Nice.
That's that's my answer times 10 to the 10th power. Nice. That's my answer, Matt.
And I will 100% like that tweet. So count me in.
I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to do it.
Nice. All right. So shall we go into spoilers for Midnight Mass? Yes.
Let's.
All right. So I'm going to play a brief clip from the trailer, and hopefully it's not too loud for us, but here we go.
Okay.
Yes.
I walked across an empty land. I knew the pathway like the back of my hand.
Welcome home, honey, where you belong.
Is this the place we used to love? Is this the place that I've been dreaming of?
I know you struggled with what happened.
With what I did?
Yes, with what you did. But help is here.
A simple thing. Where have you gone?
Good morning. I know I'm not who you expected to see. Just know I'm only here to help, and I look forward to meeting you all.
Okay, so that was a clip from the trailer for Midnight Mass. You could hear it, right?
I could.
Okay,
it was
awesome.
So creepy. God,
yes.
That song choice is wild.
It is so perfect.
I love that band Keen, and they're so like sunny and bright and poppy, and then you're like, oh my God, no.
Yep.
That's all different.
And like, so I have this absurd theory, because I hadn't watched the trailer until I finished the show, and I think that it is just a perfectly constructed trailer, like absolutely perfect, and. So there, it's such a trend to have like a popular song of any era adopted for a trailer, but then like mess around with it. Like it goes on to do like very creepy tones and everything, but there's also this like concentrated like kind of drumming that's added to it, and this is super deep in the weeds here and everything, but I have a theory that it's because Zach Gilford is involved in the show, because I got such a vibe of the band Explosions in the Sky, who did the music for the movie Friday Night Lights, and then the show, the theme music is done by by Explosions in the Sky, and they did some of the score for the show. And I wonder, like, was that like a subtle, like, did they intentionally try to make it sound like Explosion in the Sky to get people to associate it with Friday night? I always call it Friday Night Lights, but I don't know. That's my weird, like, fan theory, but I love it dearly no matter what. So yeah, I don't know. Did you ever watch Friday Night Lights?
I saw the film a long time ago,
nice.
and I have seen Explosions in the Sky live several times.
Oh my God. Wow, I am jealous.
They are amazing.
They are incredible.
Yeah, my favorite. I have all their albums. Yeah,
nice.
I'm a big fan.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's a really cool observation. I think for me, my hypothesis is that Flanagan is such a lyrics person. He's such a words guy that the lyrics to Keen's song, Somewhere Only We Know, like that creeps me out when you think about the show and you think about those lyrics. So for me, it's all about the lyrics to Keen's song that kind of get me.
Absolutely. And the way that it just repeats are you gonna let me in, like over and over in the trailer. I'm like, that is just so great because it's vampires and vampires have to be invited in. Like, oh my God, that's awesome.
Totally.
Yeah. Quick sidetrack, just because I want to know, what's your favorite Explosions in the Sky track?
So it would be, of course, I'm forgetting everything at this moment, but it's on the album, The Earth Is Not a Cold, Dead Place, and which is my favorite. That's my favorite. And I think this song is Your Hand in Mine.
Yes.
That's magic. That's like out of body, that one.
Absolutely. That might be my favorite too. It's so hard. I also really like First Breath After Coma.
Yeah. See, I need to have the track list in front of me. I need to have the track list.
Oh, I cheated. I pulled it up.
I am having a senior moment. I'm just trying to but really, for me, that entire album is like one big song to me. I just let it play, and I think the whole album like is soul awakening. So but I love everything they do.
Oh, me too. I haven't listened to a lot of their stuff, admittedly, but like that one album for sure, 110%. Also, like whatever album that was, I'm gonna cheat and go to it here. Those who tell the truth shall die. Those who tell the truth shall not read the full title. Shall live forever. Oh yeah! Oh my God! Like this is taking me back. A Poor Man's Memory is one of my favorites. Also, Yasmin the Light is great too. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So I adore that band. When I was a security guard working nights, I had like playlists, and I would have like particularly like movie and TV like scores that I would listen to on repeat, like when I'm like just like writing like reviews and stuff for the website and everything while I'm supposed to be securing a building. But it like that, and like I had so many of their songs on there. So anyway, yeah.
Magic.
Yes. So vampires though.
Right? Let's eat some brains.
Yes. Oh my God.
That sounds more zombie, but we do eat a bleeding brain.
Yes.
That.
Oh my, and I mean, like that brings me like right into my first question. Most shocking moment of the entire show. What was it for you? I mean,
the one that made me scream real loud was when we have Monsignor John Pruitt, and he's like in a state in the rec center, and he's like asking for the angel in quotes, and he appears, and you just see this very tall silhouette in the hat, and he walks toward this decanter and starts to fill it with his blood. But the moment that made me scream, of course, is when Riley arrives.
Yes.
And it's that split second where he flies at him.
Yep.
I I screamed so loud, Matt. Like, that was nuts for me. And that solidified the terror of like, oh God, like this be real. This is really happening. I loved it. At the same time, I hated it. It's terrifying. That was one of the most shocking scare moments.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think for overall, like, that got me is when Dr. Sarah Gunning's fate. I was not expecting that. That one kind of broke me a little.
Oh my God, me too. That, especially after she had that scene
the big
with
reveal,
Pruitt.
Yes. Oh, that was so touching.
Oh my God. And I mean, that is the height of Mike Flanagan. Like that is the power of Mike Flanagan.
Yep.
Oh my God, just so good. So good.
So good, but so like, so rough and sad and
oh yeah.
Oh, it was like full on Shakespeare. In that moment, I was like, oh, he knows what he's doing. He's bringing the pain. He's bringing the pain.
Absolutely. And the way that the Riley scene unfolds, like, I got slightly spoiled, by accident, because when I was prepping to record my Patreon reviews, I was like, okay, I need to get the theme music. And then I was like, well, there's no theme music, so I need to look at music from the show. So I I looked up on YouTube, Midnight Mass music or soundtrack or whatever. And then I saw I'm so bitter about this, but it worked out fine. But I saw a video title that just said Midnight Mass, end of episode 5, Riley's death scene.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh,
and I was like, oh my God, I just got that spoiled for me. And it was one of those things where I just glimpsed it and I was like, oh God. And then like I scrolled past it and I was like, okay, well, he's been having a lot of visions. Maybe it's not really his death scene. Maybe he's just having a vision or something. I don't know the context of it. Maybe it's something else entirely. And then I was like, did I even read that? And then I was like, well, I'm still thinking about it and I need to stop thinking about it so I can forget it. But I also did read it, so I'm still remembering it. And
that sucks. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was a huge bummer. But the scene with him in the rec center where he gets attacked by the creature, that's at the end of episode 4. And I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. I was not expecting that to happen so soon. Yeah. And then his actual death scene in episode 5 was just absolutely beautiful. Like
beautiful.
It is so tragic. And it is just such an amazing end to his arc that he's, oh my God, it's amazing. He
loved it.
Yeah. And I loved his acting throughout the whole show.
He was great.
Yeah.
He was tremendous. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was just true to himself the whole time, which is, I am a afflicted, guilty person, but I'm just gonna live life my way. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And I'm gonna not hide. I'm gonna just be authentically my true, complicated self. And it was magic.
So perfect. So perfect. So yeah, and then we got a lot of violent scenes also throughout it.
Gulp, yep. Let's
that scene, and we're jumping around, but that's, again, welcome to the obsessive viewer. First, let's talk about the vampire plot. Let's talk about the vampire plot. How did you feel about the way that the show concealed and then revealed the vampire plot of the story? Like, did you have any inclination of that, or how did you experience that?
None whatsoever for a while,
Nice.
Because I think we as viewers were going 100 different directions. But when it finally started to reveal Monsignor's trip to Jerusalem,
Mm-hmm.
and this creature, and then like the second it went for his neck, I was like, okay. But what was so, oh my God, what's so genius and brilliant to me, and also frightening, is the kind of scripture and the prayers that John Pruitt, Monsignor John Pruitt, is like, he's in the confessional, he's reciting these things, and they're all about like blood and everlasting life. And I'm like, this is shockingly similar. Like, this is a ticket that would not be hard to sell. Right. And it's just shocking to me because, I know these verses and I'm like, yeah, that could be a vampire. You could absolutely digest that. Yes, you could. You could absolutely get on board with that. And I was just horrified that he was able to take scripture and just line it right up with a freaking hell beast. With an undead bloodsucker. And it works with scripture. And you're like, yep, I get it. That is terrifying.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that I found so fascinating about the show because, and I think that Monsignor Pruitt is such a fascinatingly tragic and misguided, but with good intentions character. And like the whole, like, I believed that he believed that it was an angel and that he like, it kind of seems like a hard sell to be like, well, this creature just like attacked me and then fed me its blood and now I'm young again. It's an angel, not a vampire. Like it's really interesting the way that the show just demonstrates that from my perspective. It's like, okay, he discovered an angel and he brought it back to Crockett Island, and it's revealed in the end in the last episode where Hamish Linklater, just, oh my God, so good. When he's talking to Sarah's mother and he's like, I brought it back here because I didn't I couldn't think of you dying, or I didn't want you to die. And the way that he just like his breath catches there is just
it all comes out.
Yeah.
All comes out. He wasn't a priest in that moment. He was a man. And what's really interesting is I rewatched that episode and notice when you do a rewatch, Matt, after Mildred shoots him and he's like recovered, he has now taken off the chasuble. So he's taken it off and he's sitting on the steps in just the shirt and the pants. And he's like full on himself next to Mildred.
That's so awesome.
I really feel my hypothesis is that when she shot him, he regenerated, but it was more human than the other thing. Like it was more human than this vampire creature. Because he came to himself, and I think a few characters did. So that's a whole other can of worms that I'd like to discuss further. In terms of like, because one of the things Monsignor says is like, I feel total peace about drinking blood. Like I feel peace. I don't feel guilt at all. And it's like, well, yeah, because you're no longer human. Those are human things. You're not human anymore. You're a creature. But I feel with this regeneration, something happened where he came back to who he was a little bit. So I'm very curious as to what Flanagan was doing with that.
I love that. That is really I really like that. I didn't really think about it that way.
Totally. It's gonna cook your brain a little, but it's good.
Yep. Speaking of cooking brains, that's another thing that I really love about this show is the way that Flanagan kind of holds back some of the horror elements, but when he does exercise the horror, he is pretty brief with it in certain respects. Like that single shot of Pruitt just drinking the blood from the brain of Joe Colley. Like it's just a split second. It's a split second, and it's like that is going to. I've seen that episode once. I saw that shot for like at most 1.5 seconds. And like that image is going to stick in my mind for a long time. It's just
definitely
amazing. Amazing. Yeah.
That was wild. And it was, Yeah, and I loved that it was like a slow creeping towards it rather than like a ravenous vampire beast.
Yeah.
You know, the way that we're always used to seeing them in film and television, which is like
Yep.
insatiable bloodlust, hunger.
Right.
No, this was very different. This was very like curious and with withdrawing and like restraint, and
Mhm.
yet he just succumbs, and it's like in a
Yep.
creepy way.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Loved it.
yep. Oh yeah. Also, I didn't think to ask how much time you have and everything, so I hope we're not running too long. But
It's a little bit midnight oil. I do have to
okay.
grate a little bit. I'm so
Okay.
sorry,
Oh no,
but
you're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can kind of wind down a little bit, but
Perf. Yeah.
yeah, I do want to talk really briefly about Aaron and
Yes.
the magic of Kate Siegel, really, and
she's tremendous.
yes, and that subplot, that plot line of her pregnancy. Oh, I screamed at my TV. I screamed at the beginning of the 4th episode when it's gone.
Yeah.
That whole arc is just, oh my God, just heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking. So how did you feel about it? Yeah.
I was devastated like you, but also I really am. I get very. I can't help but like feel my inner female, for lack of a better expression, when a woman is made to believe she's crazy.
Oh yeah.
And that broke me, because that's like the worst thing a woman ever wants to hear or feel about themselves. Because we are emotional creatures, hormones, all those things.
Yeah.
But there's something about being called crazy or something not being in reality that is so sad and devastating to me as like a female viewer. And I just felt for her so hard, because I just wanted to scream, like, it was real. You're not insane. Like, something happened and you're not crazy. And I loved what Sarah says. She goes, oh yeah, it's crazy, but don't worry about it being crazy.
Yeah.
Lots of people are crazy and they save the world. So I love that. But I was wrecked. I was wrecked by what happened to Aaron. Yeah.
Yeah. And to talk about the monologues and everything, that monologue that she gives to Riley about what she thinks happens after death. And she prefaces it by saying like, well, it's not what happens to me after I die, because I'm not the one who died today. This is what the experience of my baby was. And I was like, I was emotionally devastated through that entire monologue.
That
just
was
brutal.
What she says about heaven, like you're just not alone.
Yeah.
And devastating. Just so beautiful and sweet.
Oh yeah. So we can wind down. I do want to talk about the big bloodbath in the penultimate episode. Like, I had already been just completely engaged by it, completely into it. And then when it gets to, like, the Jonestown of it all, like that.
Oh, my God.
It is, again, a master storyteller. Just so bloody and horrifying and just so good. I loved it. It was bonkers insanity.
My favorite is the singing, like, prelude when everyone's just singing and going into the church.
God,
and like I'm actually speechless when I think about that scene, because it's like these cheerful hymns, and yet it's absolute lambs to the slaughter. Like they have no idea. They have no idea that they are absolute lambs to the slaughter.
Yeah.
And it was so chilling and so beautifully filmed, and there's nothing I don't love about it.
Right.
It's just wow.
Just incredible.
Agree.
Yeah.
Perfect climax of insanity. You went from 0 to 100 real dang quick.
Oh yeah. So everyone pretty much dies except for the kids. And
which, can you imagine if they had lived and got on boats?
Oh, that was something I was just so amazed by, because like going into the final episode, I was like, I don't know what the end game of this is. I don't know what, like, I don't know what the rest of the story is after this big moment in the church. And then like in the opening of the last episode, Aaron's like, well, they're going to try to get on a boat, and then that's the rest of the world. Like we're done. And I'm like, oh my God, the stakes have never been higher.
Yeah. Right. It was like sweet relief when the town was burning.
Yes.
I was like, thank God.
Just so beautiful. It just, the way it's all done is just so great.
Didn't you love their eyes, Matt? Wasn't it the perfect touch?
So creepy, so insanely creepy. And
so subtle.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Just when they're coming up to the church at kind of the end of the last episode, and you just see the eyes up that was just chilling. That was chilling.
It definitely makes me want to watch Dr. Sleep again, because I remember the True Knot kind of had something similar. So I think theirs were a little bit more white, like the color of the steam.
Yep.
But this was more like a golden iridescence, which is so nuts to even phrase and conceptualize. But I loved it so much. It's subtle and so effective. Perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. And so all of the characters are really interesting and well defined. This can be my final question for you. Who do you feel had the strongest character arc throughout the show? And like, what was the one that you were most invested in, if you could pick one?
Oh, damn. No, just kidding. I love this question so much. For me, it is without a doubt Monsignor John Pruitt.
Yep.
He has the hugest character arc, given the fact that he was basically dying as an old man in the Holy Land. This amazing, terrifying thing happens to him and gives him decades of life back. And what does he do? He becomes all the things he wanted to be, which is like super priest, as well as the man that could have lured, Mildred Gunning away from her life to start a new one with him, because they had a child together. There's obviously some deep love there. Perhaps we're led to believe that, and it's evident that there is deep love there between them.
Yep.
And so we see John Pruitt show greed. And that's what it was. That's why he brought the angel to Crockett Island, was greed. He wanted a new life with the possibility of what this angel could bring, which is youth and zest and time, eternal time, where he could have a second life. And that's what greed is, which is why I love the character of Mildred, who tries to sit down and explain to him, as she's like an immortal vampire now, and trying to say, like, don't you understand? This was how it was supposed to be. We made our choices. We grow, we fade away, and that's okay. And she was just so defiant in that moment, even though there is great love. She was trying to say, like, and this is what's so interesting, is John Pruitt is a man of God. And it's said throughout the scriptures, like, if man makes plans, that's how you make God laugh. Like, everything is predestined. There is no free will, or there is, but like, there's free will, but destiny is like, your life belongs to God. Your soul belongs to God. Ergo, why would you try to rewrite the plan he has for you? Which is what John Pruitt tried to do.
Yep.
With the angel. And that blew my mind. It just like, that absolutely blew my mind, that in the end, he was as human could be. He was just a man who wanted a life with the mother of his child. He wanted to be a father to her. He just wanted, with greed, and that's okay. And it was beautiful, and it was profound, and it came full circle. And the three of them on that bridge, I was in tears. I was wrecked. So he is my favorite character. And oh my God, can I talk about my favorite scene really quick?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah.
My favorite scene, God, this was so masterfully written. I think this was in episode 4, when it's Riley and him in the rec center, and it's just their little one-on-one meeting.
Yes.
And he's looking at Riley, and he goes, "You know who I am. we're past that now. We're past that. We're past that. And he keeps repeating it over and over again.
Yep.
And I was like, oh my God. Like, I am in it the deepest I've ever been. Like,
Yep.
he was just trying to show him, like, you have to get out of the boat. You have to walk the plank. We're past that. You know who I am. You've always known, like, huge faith stuff.
Yep.
And it's just intense. And he's, God, Hamish Linklater. Where's his fan mail? Like, let's write a fan mail. Let's start a club. I'm starting a club, Matt. Let's do it.
Oh, yeah.
But that was, God, I freaking love that scene so much. So he is my favorite character. That was super long-winded. Bless your heart. Thank you.
I agree completely. And I also love how kind of counter to his counter to his arc through it. I really was fascinated by the kind of low-grade evil or hatred of Bev Keane.
Oh yes,
throughout it. And like that, the end of the show when like the characters are all together and like they're like the vampires by the church are all together and they're waiting for sunlight to pass on. And then you see Pruitt and what is her name? Sarah's mother.
Mildred Gunning.
Mildred, yes. With Sarah's body, and then you see the sheriff and his son praying. And then you have and then you have Bev Keane, who is alone. And it's like it's so fascinating to me because she is that. In any other show, she would be that caricature of evil religious zealot caricature. But here it is done so earnestly that like when you see her there and she's waiting for like she's about to, she knows she's about to pass away for good and everything, and then she has that moment where she frantically starts trying to dig to get out of it. It's like that is, I thought that was so profound to that archetype of just like someone who uses their religious faith as a reason to kind of just be judgmental and outright evil toward people. That's like the dark side of religion in the show. And I just thought that was just so spot on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So well done. And she is, a lot of things to say about her, but she was perfect for a villain.
Yeah. Okay, well, I do not want to take up too much more of your time. So
I wish I could stay 10,000 more hours, but it's terrible when school's in session and you have to grade and you're like, you can't really live, you can't be a real boy. You have to read and grade and critique. And so I'm so sorry to cut it short. Thank you.
No need for apologies. I am delighted with the time that you've given me, and it's always just such a blast to get to chat with you.
Likewise, dear sir. It is so much fun.
Well, great. And before we go, why don't you tell people where they can find you on the internets and your podcast?
I will happily do so. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I am at the Year of Underrated Stephen King. You can find me on Twitter at Twitter and Instagram, Underrated SK Pod. You can also write into the show at underratedsk@gmail. But yeah, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Pocket Casts, all of those. You can find us, the Year of Underrated Stephen King. Looking forward to saying hi and chatting King with everybody.
Nice. And once again, I'm fully endorsing that podcast. It is spectacular, and you are just really good at what you do. Yeah.
Big hug to you, Matt. Thank you so much for being so rad.
I do what I can. All right. Well, I think that'll do it for this episode of The Obsessive Viewer. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you so much, Kim, for joining me on this tangent-filled discussion of Midnight Mass. And I'm very much looking forward to chatting with you again at some point about something, anything. It'll be a blast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agree.
Awesome. So, all right. Well, that'll do it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. And I don't know what we're doing next time. Oh, next week is Heartland Potpourri with Ben. We're going to be doing a bunch of stuff about Heartland. And then after that, we're going to be talking about Dune. So, yeah, look forward to that. Thank you guys so much for listening. And thanks again, Kim. And, have a good one. I never know how to end these.
Take care.
Yeah. All right. And now, here's a short clip from our Patreon-exclusive RSS feed. To hear the full clip and more exclusive Patreon content, go to patreon.com/obsessiveviewer and become a patron at the minimum rate of $1 per month. Thank you and enjoy. And so let me talk about podcaster representation.
I was just going to say, how does this find you?
It is so entrenched in my soul. The only worst thing would be if there was a cat in there too. The two pillars of my personality, cats and podcasts.
Yeah. I do think it's strange that they're European, that they're British, that they would care about this little story in Haddonfield, Illinois, of 5 people that died. All right, so look at the guy and look at his jaw is like ripped off or ripped to the side.
Oh, that is awesome. Yeah. Oh my God, it's just drooping and just that is
some great makeup.
That's really great.
Carpenter's plan was that he is evil personified. Right. That's just what the movie is trying to say.
Yeah.
He is the boogeyman. Mm-hmm. But what it does take away, I love that shot.
Me too.
What it does take away is that link for
Laurie.
Laurie.
Fuck, I forgot about that. That is so awesome.
It is. It just explodes.
Yeah. Sorry, but yeah.
No, that's okay. I should have let that. I should have reacted to that scene.
Oh, no, you're good. I reacted enough for both of us.
Look.
The Obsessive Viewer podcast is edited and produced by Matt Hurt and presented by ObsessiveViewer.com. For a full archive of our episodes, go to ObsessiveViewer.com/OV archive. You can also like our Facebook page and join the OV Facebook group at Facebook.com/TheObsessiveViewer. And follow us on Twitter at ObsessiveViewer and at ObsessiveTiny. And follow our recurring co-hosts at I am Mike White, that's me, at R.A. Feckus, and at Burger_Lurker. If you enjoy the show, please take a couple minutes to leave us a rating and a quick review on Apple Podcasts. This is the easiest way to support what we do, and all it costs is a little bit of your time. If you'd like to donate to the podcast, you can make a PayPal donation at obsessiveviewer.com/donate. Or support us on Patreon for recurring donations and access to commentary tracks and B-roll audio recorded exclusively for patrons at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. Every donation goes toward paying the fees to keep the podcast running and is greatly appreciated. For official Obsessive Viewer merch, including shirts, mugs, phone cases, and more, visit our TeePublic store. You can find a link to the store in the show notes of this episode and at obsessiveviewer.com/donate. Or you can simply search for Obsessive Viewer at teepublic.com, T-E-E, public.com. For information about our annual live event showcasing short horror films from local filmmakers, check out shocktoberInIrvington.com. And for an archive of all our events, as well as news about potential future events, head over to obsessiveviewer.com/live. For more podcast content, you can find Anthology, Matt's solo podcast covering The Twilight Zone and other classic and contemporary science fiction anthology TV shows at anthologypod.com and on Twitter at OVAnthologyPod. You can also find Tower Junkies, a podcast where Matt and Tiny share their love of all things Stephen King and his magnum opus, The Dark Tower series, at towerjunkiespod.com and at towerjunkiespod on Twitter. And finally, Check out The Secular Perspective, Tiny's side project podcast, which tackles current events and life's big questions from the perspective of secular hosts Chad and Amanda at thesecularperspective.com. The theme music for The Obsessive Viewer comes courtesy of the band Loudlike from their EP Mistakes We Must Make. Additional bumper music is provided courtesy of As Good As It Gets, which can be found at facebook.com/asgoodasitgetsband. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Kitty!